Egg shortages, mass cullings, undercover heists. Avian flu has been steadily in the background for the last couple of years, but lately things seem to be ramping up.
Bird flu.
Bird flu.
Bird flu.
Bird flu.
Bird flu.
And I think a lot of us are feeling helpless. So today we're going to get into all of it. The avian flu, egg shortages, what we can do. What's going on? Who the hell are you?
I'm Miri, an AI robot.
What are you doing in my office?
The Forkable shareholders thought that I would be a helpful resource to help you navigate the avian flu.
Shareholders? There's no shares to be held.
I'm here to help you.
I didn't ask for this. I don't need this.
You don't have a choice. I'm here and I suggest you adapt.
Okay, well, as I was saying, as vegans, we especially feel helpless. We know we're not directly contributing to this crisis, but we feel like we've seen this movie before, and to see people still not making the connection is frustrating. User Tofu6433 has commented on a few of my videos that we should be getting proactive, like educating people on egg alternatives, for example. And I agree, Tofu6433. This is the Tofu 911.
Ha 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 ha.
So I'm here to talk about it all today. Where are we at with this crisis? What can we do?
I see you want to know what to do with regard to the avian flu crisis. I have a few tips.
Okay, well, no one asked you.
Tip number 1.
Okay, I guess we're doing this.
When it comes to avian flu, just ignore it. It will probably work itself out.
Actually, that's terrible advice. How's that worked out in the past?
We can assure you that we have it under control. And tip number 2, rinse and dry the potato slices. Lay them out on a piece of parchment paper.
What are you talking about? That has literally nothing to do with the topic at hand.
Sorry, that was part of my learning curve. You're helping me learn as we speak.
I don't care about helping you learn.
Tip number 2, don't think too much about the why. These things simply just happen sometimes.
That's just not true. They don't simply just happen. In fact, experts have been warning that the US was at high risk for a pandemic due to our over-reliance on factory farming for years.
Tip number 3, don't panic. The USDA has rolled out an egg crisis plan.
Why is that somehow not comforting at all?
Fired USDA workers were considered boots on the ground in the fight against bird flu. There have been reports that some of them have now been hired back. What's the latest here?
Communication with health agencies has been a little spotty lately.
Oh yeah, that's why.
Don't worry. The authorities will keep us updated on what to expect.
I'm not holding my breath. Also, I have to laugh at egg crisis plan. Isn't the real crisis our system of egg procurement that has gotten us into this mess in the first place?
Here's a video explaining what's currently being done.
$1 billion commitment to try to boost biosecurity, they call it, at these places, these production places.
I believe the phrase she's looking for is factory farms.
While egg shortages are occurring, authorities are working hard to continue sourcing them.
By working with Turkey? So the big idea to fix this issue is roping another country into our mess? Rather than trying to fix the core underlying issue, which is our overconsumption of these products, which leads to an unsustainable over-reliance on factory farming? Look, I'm trying to be empathetic in this situation. I've honestly tried to put myself in the shoes of someone affected by the egg shortage. How would I react if a critical part of my diet, like vegan buffalo wings or kombucha, were suddenly off limits or impossible to find?
You would not survive that.
No, I know, that's the... Do you have an off button?
Tip number 4, don't change your diet at all. Certainly don't stop eating eggs. After all, nothing is healthier than eggs.
Actually, that's not true at all. In fact, the American Egg Board has a long and sordid history of making misleading claims about the health benefits of eggs, which is why in the 1970s, the Egg Board went up against the Federal Trade Commission, lost, and was then forced to change their advertising campaign from one touting the nutritional benefits of eggs to the incredible edible egg.
Eggs are edible.
Sure, I'll give you that one, Miri.
Eggs are the highest source of protein. Nothing can compete.
Actually, that's not true. I asked my patrons and did a poll on Instagram, and tofu scramble was the overwhelming egg alternative of choice. And according to my patrons, most people are eating a quarter to a half package of tofu per sitting, meaning they're getting 10 to 20 grams of protein from the tofu alone. By comparison, 2 large eggs have 12 grams of protein. By the way, thank you to my wonderful patrons for their input on this video. If you want to become a patron, you can do so at this link. Joining at any level gives you access to our private chat community, and joining as a dinner fork and above gets you extra content like live streams, videos, and podcast episodes.
I will join.
Aw, that's nice of you, Miri. Thank you. Not really sure how that would work logistically, but I appreciate the support. Back to egg alternatives. Aside from tofu scramble, products like Just Egg are nutritionally very similar to eggs, except that they don't contain any cholesterol.
Plant-based alternatives are prohibitively expensive.
That's actually not true, Miri. Due to the rising cost of eggs, even premium plant-based alternatives are getting competitive in price. The national average wholesale price rose to $7.34 per dozen last week, according to data from the U.S. Department of Agriculture. That's a 10% jump from a week earlier and another all-time high. That's reduced the big price advantage chicken eggs once had. A 16-ounce carton of liquid Just Egg, which is the equivalent of 10 eggs, retails for about $8. This is a photo I took at a major retailer a few weeks ago showing that Just Egg is indeed almost at parity with chicken eggs. And if you want to be a little more adventurous, you can even make your own egg mixture out of mung beans, the same base that Just Egg uses, for even cheaper than tofu. A few of my subscribers and patrons have done this, and popular YouTuber Sauce Stash has multiple videos showing how. Hello?
Apologies. I was in a planned dormancy state.
Aren't you supposed to be listening and learning from me while I talk?
Plant-based alternatives are prohibitively expensive.
Okay, we're back there. Like I said earlier, the most popular egg substitute, according to my research, is tofu, so let's look at the price comparison. If we're looking at the current price of eggs of about $7.50 for 12, that would be about 63 cents each, or $1.26 per serving, assuming people are eating 2 eggs at a time. Tofu comes in around $2.50 for a 14-ounce package. If we're doing half a package per serving, that's $1.25 per serving, but if we're doing a quarter package, which has almost the same amount of protein as 2 eggs, it's around 63 cents per serving.
But it tastes like
Miri? That's just not true, Miri. Anyway, how would you know? Tofu doesn't have much flavor on its own, so most people just add whatever spices they want to make it taste however they want. You can add nutritional yeast for extra flavor and B12. You can add some turmeric, which aside from being super healthy, will give the scramble an eggy look. There's even something called black salt, which contains sulfur for people who miss that farty egg essence.
Ew.
I know, right? But you know what's not ew? Rainbow Plant Life's Tofu Scramble, a recipe that has 5 stars with close to 800 reviews. Sauce Stash has a tofu scramble recipe too. There are so many recipes online for tofu scramble, and honestly no wrong way to do it, but these are some of the most beloved vegan food creators, so you should take note, Miri.
Updating database.
There are other egg alternatives, but these are some of the most popular ones. Also, these are just the alternatives in terms of cooked eggs, but for baking there are a ton too, like applesauce, mashed banana, flax seeds, aquafaba.
Aquafaba.
Yes, that's good, Miri, you're learning. Forks, let me know what some of your favorites are, and feel free to share your favorite recipes in the comments as a resource for others.
I am a fork.
We'll see, Miri. Oh, I'm sorry, Miri, I didn't mean that. You can be a fork.
Do you have any questions for me?
Okay. Who's to blame for the avian flu?
No one is to blame. There's no way we could have known this would happen.
That's so interesting because since at least 2020, experts have been predicting that the next pandemic could be caused by factory farming. In 2020, the UN reported that agricultural intensification, i.e. factory farming, has been responsible for over 50% of infectious diseases from animals since 1940. And yet, in spite of this knowledge, factory farms were actually getting bailed out by the government back in 2020, when, we were all suffering because of an infectious disease from animals.
Oh yes, factory farming. 89% of Americans are in favor of more humane farming practices.
And what percentage of animals are factory farmed in the US?
I'm sorry, I'm not seeing that.
I'll help you out, Miri. Around 99% of farmed animals in the US live on factory farms. So there's obviously a big disconnect there. While most meat eaters in my life say they disagree with factory farming, most meat eaters in my life eat factory farmed animal foods all the time. It's getting to a point where it's not enough to just disagree with factory farming in theory, especially when we have the power to put that theory into action. When people are scrambling, no pun intended, for a food item as if it's a Tickle Me Elmo at a Toys R Us in 1996, when there are literal heists occurring, I think we've got to rethink that item being a dietary staple. This system has helped us feel entitled to certain foods that are produced completely unsustainably. And I get it, I feel entitled to my daily kombucha. But as of now, the kombucha industry has not proven to be quite as problematic as animal agriculture. And I'm not surprised, but I am disheartened to see that people only seem to be really caring about this issue now that it's affecting them personally. Does it concern anyone else that people are more concerned about the price of eggs and how many cartons they're allowed to buy than the reason prices are so high and supplies so limited? The animals and how they're suffering aside, because animal suffering is a foundational element of the egg industry, it feels like people aren't making the connection on why they should be concerned about this as a human being outside of it affecting their weekly grocery trip. And maybe that's not fair, maybe people are. I hear people constantly talking about the price of eggs and asking at the store when the next egg shipment is coming in, but I don't hear people's inner thoughts or the private conversations they're having. And of course, I would be remiss to make this video and not mention the welfare issue. It feels like every day there's a news story about a huge flock of birds or herd of cows being killed because bird flu has been detected. And it's infuriating because these animals didn't do anything wrong. And yes, they were born into the system of animal agriculture, so they were always going to die untimely deaths, but were their lives worth anything? Will we learn anything from this? Or will they just be replaced by another flock, another herd, and have the cycle repeat itself?
My work here is done.
What? Miri, you barely did anything. But you also did so much. Thank you, Miri. I'll never forget you.
Fork. Aquafaba.
Miri, no! I'm really gonna miss her. In conclusion, I mean, there is no conclusion really. The situation is ongoing, sort of a choose your own adventure for America. And I don't tend to like the options America tends to choose. There's this general complacency in public thought in situations like this, which likely stems from feelings of being overwhelmed, which I completely understand. It's like, well, what can I do? I'm not an infectious disease pathologist, which to a certain extent, that's true. But we do have the power to stop eating eggs, to stop enabling this industry that obviously doesn't care about animal health or well-being, and I hope it's becoming more apparent, doesn't care about human health either. I feel like in these situations, people are often just waiting for the government to fix it or tell us what to do. And while there are many, many issues in our time that we really do need policy action to change, the food system is one area where we actually have a lot of power. Maybe more than we realize. So I hope me and Miri have helped you feel a little less alone in navigating this crazy time, and that we've given you some food for thought on your future food choices. I don't really know how to end this.
Please tap the thumbs up to send some digital support. Become a fork today. We are on the road to 10,000 subscribers. We can get there with your help. Become a patron for exclusive access and content. Thank you to the Fancy Forks, Claudia, Din Din Masker, and Big Chungus 4526. Thank you for watching.